Warning, this episode of Talking to the Dead contains swearing and is only suitable for mature audiences. This is Talking to the Dead with Janet Kubik. Hello, Janet Kubik, and welcome to June 2021.
Hello, Joe Oliva, and welcome to your birthday.
It is my birthday.
It
Look
is.
at you with the good memory.
Right. And before we came on, we did talk numbers, but now that we're live on air, I won't go there. It's just
Numbers are irrelevant because time is an illusion, right?
So we've been told.
So last week I guessed that Bob Marley would come on. He did not come on, so I'm 0 for 1. But I did make another guess this week.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm interested to hear because, many of the times that we do this, I really don't have a sense until we actually get started, like what's going to happen, who's going to come forward. And I think today, more than any other day, I have like zero idea. Like sometimes I'll even get sort of some ideas about like what the topic might be or what they might want to share about. Today, I got nothing. So I'm wondering if you're special. Oh, no, but you're not going to tell me. I was going to say maybe your guess will inspire me, but you're not even going to tell me. That defeats the whole purpose of the game.
This is the game where I either win tremendously or likely lose because it's a pretty wild guess today. I actually had two guesses that were in my head, but I had to settle on one at the last second. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, sounds good.
So what's happening in your world, Janet Kubik? Talk to me.
Well, I will talk to you and let you know that things are a little bit topsy-turvy in the world, in my personal world at this time. So as I've kind of gone through this process, you can see I can't hardly even speak today. As I've gone through this process of awakening and sort of opening up, I really can't talk. That's funny. Okay, we'll take note of that.
Take a breath and then keep going.
All right. As I've been opening up to this, whole idea of bigger picture and exploring things that I hadn't necessarily, considered in regards to life before, one of the things that I have delved a little bit more into, and certainly by no means into any depth, but is the idea of like the astrology and I can't talk. So this is weird because I'm wondering if this is an indication of, okay, here we go. Somebody's coming through and the person's coming through has a bit of a stutter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if I'm wrong yet, but yeah, okay, let's.
Okay, because this person is, it's a male energy. And he says, it's not so much of a stutter. He says, I just get tripped up. I would just get tripped up on my words because I had so much to say. But there was a lot of pressure on me to say it. And so oftentimes I would kind of like get flustered and then I would start to trip up on things. Corey, he's giving me this. He says a lot of the times where you saw him, like the public saw him, he was, it looks like smoking, but it's almost like a very particular way of holding the cigarette.
Like the way you'd smoke a joint?
Oh, maybe, but it feels like it feels like it was a cigarette, but he held it that way. This is the way he's showing me, like that he would hold it that way. And he's very kind of laid back. He said it brought down his stress levels. Oh, he also was a drinker. I have a feeling this is Corey Haim. I'm trying to understand the Ralph Macchio. He says they worked together. Okay, so they worked together, or he knew of him. It feels like he's saying something like the Rat Pack, but of the like 80s. So it feels like he almost like this. Ralph was part of his. Ralph was part of his like crew, kind of a thing, if that's the right word, like somebody that he hung out with.
Ralph Macchio is also alive, as far as I know. I've heard that he passed away. But I did Google him, and it said that him and Alyssa Milano were tweeting about Corey Haim's death. We'll miss you, buddy, all this kind of stuff. So I imagine they had some kind of a relationship I don't have time right now to figure out if they were in a movie together. I will look it up.
Yeah, well, and actually, I don't even know that they did anything big together, or if it was just a reference to that they hung out together and that they were friends. When you mentioned he and Alyssa Milano, then I did get the validation chills. So I do have a feeling that this is Corey Haim. It's Haim, right? H-A-I-M?
H-A-I-M. Yeah, and he was born in Toronto.
No way.
Yeah.
Yay, T.O. I have a feeling it's him. He went from being sort of the, like you said, this kind of trippy uppy, stuttering kind of thing. And now I actually feel like really mellow and really kind of laid back. So it feels like he had some extremes happening within his being. It does feel like he has something he wants to talk about. So, like I always say, even if you don't believe in the whole idea of connecting with spirit, often or always when the messages come forward, they are usually pretty profound and have something cool and helpful to say. So we'll go with this being Corey. And if he identifies himself more, great. And if not, then, we'll just hear what he has to say and see what the message is all about.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I just sort of decided that on behalf of everybody. I hope that's okay. That's what I'm going to do.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. Okay. The first thing that's coming forward is something like, hold on to your hats, kiddo. Hold on to your hat, kiddo, because you're about to embark on a really wild ride. I'm not sure if this is a message that's intended for me personally, or if it's intended for everyone. So I think we'll just keep plowing through and see what comes of it, and then we'll figure it out. So he's saying the world of celebrity brings with it a whole lot of baggage. He says, but what you have going for you is that purity of soul. He says, you spend so much time and energy clearing and cleansing your issues because it's issues that will trip you up. It's the issues that get in your head, and it's the issues that get you addicted to things and take you down that wrong path. He said, so just go into this confidently knowing that, yeah, the industry is what it is and it has a long way to go. But because of all the work you've done, because of all that effort you've put into kind of healing all that stuff and really grounding and connecting yourself at the same time, you're actually gonna really excel or exceed your expectations or the expectations. So he says, now for everybody else. So I guess that was for me.
Okay.
Okay. So he says, it's funny because he's kind of this cool guy. And he's kind of like, so yeah, my message for humanity. He's like, wow, this is pretty cool. He said, he said, people listened to me when I was there. He said, but always kind of with this grain of salt, because I don't think everybody really gave me full credit or gave him full credit for who he was, because he'd spent a lot of time, he says, altering himself. It comes across to me like a lot of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, those kinds of things. And he says those kinds of things really discredit you. People just look at you slanty, or they look at you sideways, and they don't really take what you have to say or what you have to offer for full value, because they feel like it's been kind of affected by, the choices you've made or the things that you've done. He says, but really I was a pretty wise soul. And he says, it's one of the reasons why I ended up in the industry. There was a lot wrong with it, and a lot of stuff that I tried to bring forward and show people, bring it to their attention. He said, I don't know how successful I was at that, but it was kind of part of my purpose or what I was there to do. But now, what do I want to say? He says, now that I have, the attention or your attention, what do I want to say? I want to say, just relax. He says, everybody's trying so hard. Just try to try to be okay. Don't try to be successful or rich or famous or powerful. He's like, just try to be okay. It's all you have to do. It's really the only thing that's an expectation or that's needed of you in this existence. You know, we waste so much time on the external stuff, and really, you know, the true successes of life are found on the inside. They're found internally. So he's like, yeah. He says, you know, here I am sounding like Mother Teresa, because, you know, she's here. She'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
He said, but really that's because, you know, once you get here, you sort of understand all the truths. You understand the direction that, you know, you would have been best to go in when you were there. And we're all equal. We all have the same platform here to say and feel and believe the same things. So yeah, I'm saying the same things, and it's going to make me sound wise because, you know, she was a wise woman, but I was a wise guy too. And then he kind of laughs because he just called himself a wise guy, and it feels like he was a bit of a character, maybe a bit of a troublemaker when he was here. So wise guy fits me well. He says, for many reasons. But just know, that so much of your time would be better spent on just chillaxing or chilling or relaxing and not pushing so hard or fighting so hard for the answers and for things that exist externally. Because really what you need is inside you. And he said, that's where I used to try to go. And that's why I reached out for substances and things to medicate with, because when I did that, it took me to a place where I could relax. Like I could slow my brain waves down enough that I could actually kind of feel relaxed for a bit. Like I could let the pressure go, kind of release all those external expectations, my manager, my agent, my publicist, my mother, my, you know, blah, 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 blah. I could just kind of relax and calm myself. He says, but the problem with doing that is that those things, they're not meant to help you. It feels like they help you in the moment because they do make you more chill, but they're not really helping you. He says, it's all part of the game. It's all part of the money game, the power game, the control game. People are easier to control when they're hooked on shit. Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, we just have to mark it explicit now.
Okay.
Thanks, Corey.
Yeah, man. He's like, yeah. Sorry about that, but you know, you got to speak with authenticity. It's what we're here to talk about, right? So,
so it's basically what we call escapism, right, Corey? Like it's like you take the drug, upper, downer, or hallucinogen, or whatever it is, and you sort of escape from the world. And what you're saying, it's just temporary. Once you come out from the high or the low or whatever it is, your problems are all still there, exactly as you left them, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, man, is if you would let go of all the external pressures to begin with, you wouldn't need to escape. You wouldn't need it, because those things are man-made, man. They're things that you're putting onto yourself that you really don't have to. It's like people feel forced to conform to society and all these rules and rigmarole that, you know, has been put into place. And nobody really needs to do that. The only reason that we do it is to try to feel accepted and to try to feel okay about who we are. Because to not conform takes a lot of inner strength. But the problem is the more of that stuff that you take and the more that you do of that shit, the harder it is to get your power back, because you lose your capacity. You're losing your capacity within your body because you're hurting your body or you're damaging your body, number one. And number two, any kind of reputation that you've tried to build up or any kind of respect that you've tried to earn has kind of gotten lost too, because now people don't trust you. So it just is really, really counteractive in all the ways. So it's like, so go ahead of or before needing the stuff and make the change there so that you don't need the stuff. Do you get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. It's easier said than done, especially you were a child star, and I think people are better now, but there was an era where a lot of the child stars were pretty messed up. I think they didn't quite know how to handle their celebrity or their money. I mean, you look at the Different Strokes cast, all three of the kids had different issues. Dana Plato passed away. A lot of the different kids from all the different shows from that era, a lot of them seem to have had major problems dealing with it. I think it's better now. There are some laws in place where their money is held in trust or something like that till they're an adult. So their parents can't squander it and all these kinds of things. But I mean, but it's also the emotional side of it too, right?
Yeah, it's like too much pressure, man. He's like, don't think for a second that we didn't know that we were our family's bread and butter. You know, like 8, 9, 10 years old, 12, 11, you know, and you know what's expected of you, and you know what responsibilities being put on you. He says, especially in my case, like, yeah, my parents, yeah, I was their ticket. And that happens a lot in the industry. He says, but more and more moving forward, the more people can start to open up themselves to this idea of spirituality or this new age that they keep talking about, or you guys keep talking about anyway, the easier it's going to become, because the need for power, the need for money, all those pressures that get put on, you know, kids and people in general, they're just going to start to fade away, because people are going to really start to realize and understand that they're not going to get what they want by pursuing those things at all costs. They're just going to end up kind of like me, where they need to medicate in order to manage. And then, you know, all that shit we just talked about, where you lose your respect, you lose your self-respect. You lose self-respect. Who wants to have to rely on shit to be okay?
Right.
You know? So the more we can talk about this, the more we can bring it to the forefront so people can see it and know it and have an idea of how to fix it. Like, not fix it afterwards by going to rehab 10 times, but fix it before it even happens. And to do that, you just got to shift your thinking. You just got to shift the idea of what makes you powerful. You know, and the money will come. And yeah, you know what? Money's great. And money afforded me a lot of stuff in my life. But was it a good trade-off? Hell no. Hell no. I would have much rather had my faculties, a sane brain, a peace in my body. He's showing me some indication about some issues in his stomach.
Okay.
It almost feels like deterioration of some kind in his stomach. Yeah, like money doesn't fix that. Because you know what? You can buy the doctor to fix you up. But if you don't fix it in here, if you don't fix where the problem's coming from, then it gets you nowhere. It's just going to come back again. You're going to go through it all over again. And the next time, it might be harder to get out from underneath. Rehab gets harder every time. Because then you carry the fact that you've tried it before and you failed. So it just gets harder and harder. So you know what? Curb it all before it gets to that point. And you all have the power to do that. You just got to shift. You just got to shift your thinking about what's important and what's going to get you what you want in life. And it's funny because now he's kind of laughing. Sorry, he's just kind of like, he's kind of switched personality a little bit, kind of on a dime. I don't know if there was any bipolar issues or what he's trying to show me in doing that. But yeah, now he's just kind of laughing. He kind of shakes his head a little bit and he says, yeah, did I have a good time? He said, it looked like it. It appeared to be so. And he says, and that's my one regret, is that a lot of people looked up to me and thought, I want what he has, because it looked like I was having so much fucking fun. But it wasn't real. There wasn't really any fun being had. And if there was, it was in the moment, and it was because I was altered, or I had altered myself in ways that weren't good for me. So, you know, do I wish maybe that I could go back and change that? Maybe. He says, but then you also start to understand the bigger picture, especially when you get here. You see how it all plays out. You see how it all unfolds, and you realize what role you played. So even if it was, you know, a hard one or a challenging one while you were there, you do get to understand it better and appreciate it more once you get here, or when you get here. He's like, sorry, man, I cut you off. You had something you wanted to say.
Well, I was going to ask, he talked about making the change to a society less focused on like material wealth. And then I was going to ask him, how do you do that? And then he said, you all have the power within you. So is it done through individuals changing the way they are, or is there some sort of like a societal push for that?
Well, he says it has to start from within, because if you don't believe it yourself, then you can say all you want about it. You can preach about it. You can post about it, but it's not going to catch on. It doesn't have the energetic vibe. People aren't going to resonate with it or react to it because it's not really true or real. So yeah, it all starts from within. The whole process of healing that frickin' world. And I think I think he said frickin'. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't altering.
He's editing himself. Yeah.
Yes. I think he was editing himself. Thank you. It all comes from within. And that's part of the problem, is everybody looks outward. Everybody looks to everybody else to fix their problems or to blame their problems on. You know, I could blame my parents, but you know what? I understand now that they were playing their role and I was playing mine. And was it shitty? Yeah. In a lot of ways, yeah. But it was what it was meant to be in the grand scheme of things. So there's no need to blame them or judge them for it. I just want to learn from it. I just think everybody needs to start learning from shit instead of wallowing in it and blaming other people or resenting other people for it. Learn from it. And that happens internally, not externally. Nobody decides what you learn. Your teacher, your professor, your boss, your father, your friend, they can try to teach you shit by living their life and having their own experience. But the only person who learns is you. You are in charge of learning. Go to school with 10 other kids and you'll all learn something different, because learning is individual. Learning is unique to you as a person, and you get to choose it. There are kids who have no freaking money and they find their way to university because they want to learn what they're going to learn there. So you get to choose what you learn. There's a lot of kids that decide to just walk away from school for whatever reason. They're choosing that because they're choosing what they want to learn. And it doesn't mean that they're dumb or they're making a bad choice. It just means that they're not learning what their soul needs to learn by being in that environment. And everybody says they should be in that environment. But who says, really? Who says that's where kids are supposed to be? Kids are supposed to be learning. Anyway, he's like, you know, I don't want to get too into this stuff because there's a lot that just needs to be reworked. There's a lot that needs to be figured out. But just for now, just stop looking to people like me who look like they're having a lot of fun and stop aspiring to be them. Because underneath it all, it wasn't fun. It was me medicating. It was me trying to escape the pain I lived with every day. So just don't go there anymore. Let's just shift the world so we don't have to go there anymore. So nobody has to go there anymore.
So what was the cause of his pain?
Pressure. Expectations. Feeling at a very young age like I was carrying the weight of a lot of people. Not only like fans and stuff, but family, agents. You know, a lot of people were making money off of me. A lot of people were living high off the hog because of me.
So I guess the lesson is, since this is already marked explicit, you just don't give a fuck, right?
Yeah, he says, you know, we need to start developing inner strength.
Right.
The strength to just, you know, trust what you're being told from inside of you as opposed to outside of you. So that people don't put themselves in those positions. So people don't believe the people who say, you know, oh, we love you, which is all ultimately you want as a kid, is to be loved. But really they're saying it because they want you to, you know, stuff their pocketbooks or their back pocket, he says, sorry.
Well, didn't some people just love him for who he is as a person?
He says, don't get me wrong. I was a charming dude. Like I was a charismatic kid. There was, you know, I did have a bright light inside me, which is what drew people to me, which is what, you know, what got me on camera, because, you know, you need that. They need to be able to see that in you in order to put you in that position. So I had all those things, he says, but we're not talking about those things today. We're talking about the pitfalls and the, you know, where the lessons need to be learned.
Right.
Yeah. So, and he's smiling again. And he said, you know, it wasn't always an affected smile. You know, there were moments of authenticity, and I hear the word genuine, like there were genuine moments.
Right.
But again, he's like, that's not what I'm here to talk about.
Okay.
Do you have anything else, Joe? Because I feel like he might be sort of maybe finished.
Does he have any other things he'd like to mention? Any messages for his friends? I know he had a lot of Hollywood friends. Sarah Jessica Parker. He dated Alyssa Milano.
Oh.
These are just people that sort of tweeted when he passed away. I guess he passed away about 10 or 11 years ago.
Oh, okay. He says they were good people. They are good people. And he said, we just had a lot of common circumstances. And he said, some of them handled it better than I did. Some of them are still there because of that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they're good people, and we're all kind of in the same boat at that time, you know, circumstantially, but also sort of, you know, from that big evolutionary place or point. You know, things are always coming up and happening for a reason, because there's a lesson in them. There's things to learn, and, you know, we need examples to follow, and to, you know, we even need examples of things to see that aren't good for us so that we know that it's not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
So
yeah. You learn what not to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're good people. And I genuinely love and care for them all. And that would be my message for them, is that you mean, as fucked up as I was, I genuinely loved and cared for them almost more than a lot of other people, like that you would typically care for. It feels like it feels as though he sort of has some bonds with some of those people
right.
that are tighter than maybe his family or that kind of a thing. And I'm just seeing if there's, because it did kind of feel like there was maybe something else.
The mic's on, Corey.
Yeah.
Say what you want to say now.
I feel like it was in regard to something that you said before when you were mentioning the people that he...
I mean, he was good friends with Corey Feldman. That was like the two Coreys, they called them, I think. And I think they may have had a short-lived reality show called The Two Coreys. And then, you know, I think all those sort of young stars, they all knew each other back in Hollywood. Yeah.
I think what it was, Joe, is that there was a reference to Goonies. Like he just, for some reason, he wants to bring the movie Goonies forward. So was he actually in Goonies?
So it says that he wasn't in the movie Goonies. He auditioned for the role of a character called Mouth. And then his friend Corey Feldman got that role.
Wow, interesting. So I'm wondering why it feels like he wants to bring it up, because the way he actually brought it up, it felt like he was saying like that was a good time.
He could have been hanging out on set with these guys. Who knows? I mean, they all kind of know each other, I think, right? Yeah,
and that's the thing too. That's where, you know, interpretation comes in, right? Like he's saying what he's saying, and just because I might think that, oh, well, maybe he means he was in that movie, doesn't mean that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, he could have been saying I was hanging out on set. For once, I didn't have the pressure of the director telling me to walk this way and say that line with more vigor or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
and he could just hang out in the trailer and like relax, right? Like you're saying.
Because he does refer to that as being good times. So whatever his connection was, or if he was just even talking about that time period, he does refer to that as good times. I'm just going to ask him if there's anything else. And he's just like, no, man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity to come forward. He says, you know, I always believed in this shit when I was there. And it's cool to be coming at it from this other angle or from the other side. So, you know, peace to you all. And, you know, good luck. Okay. So he has stepped out and he said, peace out, sort of on his way out.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just, it's interesting for me. I mean, I know this is my experience and I'm living it, but I continue to just get blown away every time. Like we've experienced before that, you know, when we were having a special guest on the show, I would get sort of these lead up things where I'd see, you know, a picture of them somewhere, hear their song or something like that. But with him today, this just feels like completely random. I don't know that I've thought of that person for years. So anyway, always continually amazed by this whole adventure that we're on together.
Would you be amazed if I wrote Corey Haim down on this paper?
I would be very amazed.
Well, I wrote down Bob Marley again, but that's not the guess. That's because I think that if he does come, where is the camera? There it is. If he does come, it still counts because I guessed him last week. This week, would it be crazy if I guessed another child actor?
Really?
Nostradamus. Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even in the same era or century. But a valiant effort, I would say.
Yes, I would agree. And again, I mean, as we've come to discover, you just really never know. So you might as well just throw those guesses out there. And one of these days, maybe you'll be right.
Yeah, maybe I will be.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corey Haim, for visiting with us. And thank you, Janet, and anyone else who helped along the way. I'd like to remind people to rate, review, subscribe, and most importantly, share this podcast or YouTube show with whoever you would like, whoever you think might find it interesting. Any big Corey Haim fans, of course. Also visit janetkubik.com. Sign up for her email list and you will get a very occasional email letting you know the next time anyone famous comes through. Okay? Thanks for watching and listening.
Thanks a bunch. See you later.